Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting match of the Zelda 2 tournament. We are in the Swiss brackets round 5, and right now we have jkoper versus Paratroopa. And without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Alsoa and Drossi, who are wonderful commentators for today. Take it away, guys. I'm going to get these racers started.
Thank you, Jinxie, and welcome everyone again to this iteration of the Zelda 2 Randomizer tournament. This is a Swiss round 5 match, as was just said, and let's take a look at where the standings is. I believe this is a 2-2, but I'm going to go verify.
It is.
Fantastic.
Which means that this is basically an elimination match. The winner of this race will move on to brackets, and the loser is done for the tournament.
Yes, three wins are needed to get into the bracket stage, and with both of these guys being 2-2, well, they kind of have to win here. So what particularly do you want to see out of this match today?
I mean, I'm hoping for a nice jet seed, personally. Weren't we just discussing the great, 3-3-3 Great Palace entrance?
Yes, and if that happens, I will be ecstatic. But again, the players have to cooperate, and it looks like we have Link versus Simon Belmont,
whose whip just happens to send out these nice sound waves that travel exactly as far as Link's sword.
Thankfully, Simon actually is able to jump well in this game, so that's going to help him out a bunch. If you had to deal with Simon's jumping controls in Zelda 2, well, that'd be kind of tough for combat.
Yeah, I don't think too many people would play that sprite.
Although it would be an interesting challenge mode.
So interesting that we have a connector cave right off the bat here that leads us to both a town and a castle. That was just Rauru. Or is it Ruto? I never remember which one's which.
This one will be Ruto. The runners will need the trophy. jkoper is going to go in and get some hints. Paratroopa so far is not. He may come back for it. But we do see one of Palace 6 or 3 on the west. We will not be able to tell until the runners go a little bit deeper in. And we find Palace 1.
Well, that's a nice find.
And Barba slithers with the trophy. It could be in that palace that's conveniently located right next to town, but do you want to fight Rubenak without Dam Stab?
Yeah, that's we're not going to get that spell out of Ruto for a while, I'm thinking.
Likely not, but if we manage to come across an early fairy or jump spell and an early Mito, well, that may change the runners' minds, but I think they'd prefer fairy because fairy can be required for Palace 6. And this early desert is not friendly today.
Oof, no, considering Paratroopa just took a death there.
But we get a 50-point P-bag.
I was hoping it would be something bigger than that, but what can you do? At least it's life 2.
We still have some more P-bags left. There could still be a 1,000 bag or a 700 bag in there.
Oh, it's possible. It's just always great when you get one of those right off the bat and you're immediately at 333.
Oh, yeah. Looks like jkoper is going through the back end of Fairy Cave. Paratroopa is still on the overworld looking for the stuff and the things. And Fairy Cave just loops back.
And Paratroopa has found... Is this Heart Container or Medicine Cave?
This is actually a P-bag cave.
Oh. No wonder I don't recognize it. I never go in there.
We also saw that one of the P-bags is 30, so we might not be able to get a whole lot out of them today.
But one way or another, Paratroopa is determined to see what the item is in here.
Oh, it could be the raft. We know that the raft has to be available before the runners go to the East Continent, elsewise they have no way of getting there.
Another 50-point P bag there.
It's a heart container.
Hey, didn't I say this was Hard Container Cave? It is now.
All right, it's official. Changing the name of it.
So our runners are having a bit of a high five in here.
Jkoper will probably be happy to see this heart container as he is currently on half a bar of life.
Oof, and Paratroopa not doing too well stuck between a Moblin and Guria on top of a Geldarm.
Yeah, this weak desert encounter is anything but. It's quite the toughie. And we find the back end of Saria conveniently located next to the front end of Saria.
Guess we don't need to find Bagu today.
Nope. But now we know the hammer's on the east.
Don't do that. God damn it.
Gee, someone left a mirror under the table. Again.
Look. That mirror under the table was needed to clean out underneath the table from all the gum that somebody probably put under there. They just forgot to grab the mirror on the way out. And then they got all fancy dressed, and then next thing you know, you get fire.
And what is fire paired with today? That is the question.
It looks like shield.
Shield.
That's not objectively terrible. It's not great, because shield generally gets pretty cheap, and so does fire, but it's not the worst spell to be paired with fire.
And depending where shield itself is, it could give us access to shield much earlier this way.
Although it is right now quite expensive.
Yeah, but then again, they don't have anything else to use their magic on.
Sure they do. They have whatever other spells they get. They just don't have them yet. There's a medicine. So Mito looking a little bit better. And the runner's probably wishing that it was a combo fire and jumper fairy now.
And unfortunately, without that down stab, Paratroopa just has to abandon that P-bag.
jkoper has found the entrance to Death Mountain that leads to nowhere, but has also found the grass tile through an up and A. So cut through this graveyard real quick. And grass tile contains the boots.
Well, that's a nice find.
So the boots, in the vanilla game, they allow you to walk on certain water tiles. In the randomizer, it allows you to walk on all the water tiles as long as they are within the map's borders.
And it can be really nice for getting around mountains that way.
Paratroopa has found Raru as jkoper's found Medicine Cave, which will not contain the medicine.
Unless there are two medicines in this game. Maybe they can get two spells out of Mito, you never know.
If there's two medicines in this game, well, I have multiple questions. Such as, why are we giving a bottle to sick kid?
Where the woman's like, okay, now come see my other grandfather.
And the immediate shield spell.
And 150 is our other P-bag, so yeah, we are not getting very generous P-bags in this seed.
And this is where I think it actually makes more sense to take levels as you go, because you don't have the P-bags to really boost you up to those attack levels early. If you had a little bit better P-bags, even like a 200 bag mixed in, then you could probably just go ahead and take attack 3, attack 4 early and start saving up for attack levels. Paratroopa has now up 8. He will get his stuff, hopefully, And that is a boots blocked raft tile on an island that is separate. Like, what even is that raft tile?
I've never seen that before.
Unless that's like the world's weirdest bridge, which I guess is technically possible. jkoper's found Heart Cave.
It's like, here, you want to get to the dock? Wait through the water first.
Convenient that the grass tile is right there with the boots, but that's kind of weird. And there's the raft.
I gotta check that spell first. It's tempting, very tempting.
So they have boots, they have rafts, they can go east, they don't have downstab, they probably want downstab. But they might not be able to get downstab without going east because there's no guarantee that Jumper Fairy is going to be in Mito, and they haven't even seen Mito yet.
Yeah, and we know it's not in Ruto because there's enough that requires Fairy in Battle 6.
Potentially requires Fairy.
I wasn't sure if the game logic took that into account.
The only reason I don't think it does is I believe Glove can also be in P6. It's rare, but it is possible. Paratroopa is going to go ahead and explore Mito. jkoper is going to go to this cave first, and then double back for Mito, I guess.
Well, we're about to find out what the spell is.
Koper takes a death in Trophy Cave, and it is Thunder.
Well, something that is absolutely required, but not that useful at the moment, since we probably don't have enough MP to cast it.
I don't know. I thought I saw a cost of 63 on it.
Oh, wow.
If we can cast it, that makes magic extremely valuable as Koper finds another heart.
Given how much these enemies have been hitting for, that heart is certainly nice.
Yeah, I don't think Koper will want to see more of them, but having 6 hearts early is not necessarily a bad thing. I expect Koper's now going to go back through Mito here. If he's not already been there, we'll have to see on a pause.
And Paratroopa also collecting that heart.
Koper finding the King's Tomb, does not get a hint out of it. Koper could also be waiting to do Mito with a jump or fairy spell. But that could definitely be an issue if he does not go back there. Well, again, he doesn't necessarily have to go back there immediately. He can go back there whenever he goes to the east anyway. He just has to make sure he goes back there before going in the GP. It's honestly not the worst decision in the world to wait for jump, as there's not a guarantee you're going to get jump out of that town anyway. And even though Thunder is castable, Fairy would probably be better. He's going to see that this is shield and probably not be exactly happy with it.
Have we seen this cave that Paratroopa's in yet?
We have. This was the raft. It is Heart Cave.
Oh, okay. So it's Raft Cave.
To answer the question in chat of how do you calculate how much magic the player has, every single one of those bars that you see on their magic meter is 16 magic points. So right now they have exactly 64 magic points to work with. And so basically anything that costs 64 or less they can cast right now. Every magic container gives them another bar, which gives them another 16 magic points. The magic levels don't influence the amount of total magic they have, but they do influence the spell costs. So spells will get cheaper as they get more magic levels. Interesting. Koper's still opting not to go back to Mito yet. Again, I don't think this is going to be an issue for him at the moment because he does have to come back to this continent anyway with a glove for that likely glove block in P6. And if that's P3, it's even more likely to be glove blocked. Really, Paratroopa is going to want to try to use as much Thunder as he can. to get as much advantage out of that as he can before Koper gets there. And Koper tried to get the encounter skip, does not get the encounter skip, just has to deal with some eyeballs and invisibolas.
Yeah, and who knows where the cross is, and it's not exactly something we're prioritizing.
Probably buried deep in Palace 5.
Isn't it always?
Yes. Koper cannot do this screen. He needs the jump spell to get the P-bag that is here. It's probably a 150.
Well, that 150 for Paratroopa was nice because it allowed him to take an attack level.
Attack levels are always good. There is GP for jkoper. He's going to up A to restore his health and magic.
And there's Darunia.
Koper's going to opt to leave without getting the hint. Not technically the worst idea in the world. Just something to be careful of.
Without the child or jump or fairy, it's not like we can get anything else out of Darunia.
The information of what location the kid is in could be nice, but is not required. Koper's going to opt to try to kill this Lizalfos. Ends up having to leave. And this is where the Thunder spell can really come in handy for Paratroopa.
Got quite a few points out of the deal, too.
Oh, and that's a River Devil. This is looking like an early dip of Palace 1's going to be required if there's no way to get down along the coast. As this whole north portion appears to be a bit of a dead end.
Well, Paratroopa didn't want to find out where the child is at this point either.
And it looks like you can get around via the coast.
And there's another town.
Let's watch it be Old Casino.
Hey, at least there's a spell there, if you don't get hit by the Invisibolas too much.
I mean, they are Invisibolas. They kind of just go wherever they please. Finds a pass-through cave. There's a bunch of those on the east. And it's Old Casino.
You called it.
Welp!
Ouch.
Ouch, indeed. There's a little digger for jkoper. He's going to take that into Old Casino and then immediately cast shield and the life spell. Not a spell that you're required to get, but also not a spell that you're going to say no to.
So really what we need at this point is Nabooru, because we're running out of places that we can easily learn spells otherwise.
There's a very real possibility of needing to dig a palace for a spell item to get jump or fairy, as they both can be spell item blocked. The Tektites give good XP today at 100 each. jkoper gets a free life spell cast off of that red jar and finds a forced encounter. He's going to opt to not take it. Don't blame him. That forced encounter is kind of long. Said he's going to find this cave, and it is an item cave. Always happy to see item caves.
So I'm thinking, unless the palace they found early that's either 3 or 6 is in fact 6, and they can get ways into it, where we know the trophy is. And jkoper just grabbed the hammer, by the way, which we knew was on the east side, but now we know we're on the east side. But yeah, otherwise all they can really find is the child.
And the child could be in Palace 1. It could be hammer blocked. Also of note, they do not have the fairy spell or the magic key, and keys don't really seem to be in the drop pool. So they don't really have great palace exploration here. It looks like that thunder spell is now coming in handy for Paratroopa, as he is able to kill off some of the enemies, and there's a flute for jkoper.
Well, that solves the River Devil problem.
That it does, but it's not. It's probably not what he was wanting to see. He probably was wanting to see Kid, Glove, or Magic Key at this point.
Maybe, just maybe, it'll help us find Noboru.
Both runners are trying to kill off some Lizalfos to get some XP. Unfortunately, the orange only giving 70. I myself am not great at fighting Lizalfos, so usually I just skip them. Even if they're worth a ton of XP, it's, for me, half of the time I just end up dying to them.
Yeah, especially with how many hits they take when your attack is only 3.
Combined with the Bogos on this screen being
Oh, there's
a
the
pain.
key drop.
Oh, interesting.
So it's pretty deep into the prize pack.
That really does put more emphasis on the fairy spell as a magic key to be able to do. If you see our Valley of Death, there's a 300 bag for jkoper. He's probably going to take life 4 here. No? He's going to go for the attack level. Okay.
And Paratroopa is exploring Maze Island, hasn't found either of the 2 drop downs yet.
jkoper has found the other P-Bag cave on the east. I actually think his best bet would be to go into this cave, get the item, and then take a death. Paratroopa has found the first item on Maze Island. It is going to be... Oh, the Scorpions give 300 XP, and it's the glove. jkoper gets a magic container for his efforts, though.
That magic container will be nice. It'll mean that Paratroopa, could cast thunder and still be able to cast other things afterwards.
Yes. And also considering that you may want to cast Reflect and Thunder at the same time on Thunderbird, having some extra magic containers can work in your favor for there. There is the new Kasuto item that requires anywhere from 5 to 7 magic containers to pick up. jkoper gets his attack 4 and immediately can take magic 3 if he so chooses.
And that was a 300-point P-Bag.
Now that's pretty worth it. Koper has not seen the entrance to Maze Island yet, but he is looking for new Kasuto, and breaking down these tree tiles is a good idea if you're looking for new Kasuto, as it can be blocked by the hammer. Another little quirk about the Lizalfos is that if you let go of the D-pad, I know this works for the red and the orange. I don't know if it works for the blue, but if you let go of the D-pad when you're jumping towards the Lizalfos, they will actually stop moving away from you. And if you have enough momentum, you can clear the jump over the Lizalfos without having to hold the D-pad. You do need to take a running start to do it, but it's something that can save you a little bit of life if you find yourself surrounded by Lizalfos.
The more you know.
jkoper is opted to take magic 3. He will likely head to Maze Island from here. So we find Palace 2 on Maze Island. I think I like this decision from Paratroopa to go ahead and dig this. He has the glove. He has a key, which he could get more. I don't recall seeing the other item on Maze Island.
No, we didn't find it yet.
Maybe search for that other item first, although his 1 key will get him the item here. If jkoper can secure a key, that will help him out a lot. Paratroopa is going to opt to face tank his way through, sees that it is the cross in Palace 2, not exactly what he was looking for out of there. Now he has no keys.
But he has information.
That he does. I do expect jkoper will also see that the key leads to the cross as he gets his glove.
And it looks like Paratroopa is going back for that cross.
Not necessarily a terrible choice, as the cross does allow you to see the Invisiboas, which will help in terms of keeping you alive on some of these screens. I don't think either decision would be wrong here. He is, however, going to go ahead and leave Palace 2 at this point. Probably look for the other item, which is the kid.
French vanilla.
jkoper will have a little bit of a quicker Maze Island than Paratroopa did. That could be a difference maker. We'll see if Koper decides to dig out Palace 2 or not. If he decides to go for the boss in here.
And we know where Darunia is, so we can get another spell now.
I think an interesting route to take here would be to go ahead and just go for the boss of Palace 2 and maybe even gamble on the item, because at this point the only item you'd really want is, you know where the trophy is, so you know Fairy is going to be accessible. And you could just take the gamble that the magic key is not going to be in Palace 2 and just go for the boss. Though jkoper does not have any keys, so he is going to have to leave. But I don't know if he's seen both items yet. No, he has. He's seen both. He's probably going to try to walk out, I think, based on the fact that he is continuing and not immediately obeying. Yeah, it looks like he wants to go back to that path that has the forced encounter and take that. Maybe try to get an encounter skip. Both runners relatively even on levels. jkoper slightly ahead on the attack level here.
Okay, was this the cave where jkoper got the hammer that Paratroopa is now in?
Yes. And looks like Koper is going back to the overworld. Now he's going to up A. He may opt to go for Palace 1 here. He may also opt to go for Death Mountain now that he has the boots and he's seen at least one entrance of it. Although there's nothing in Death Mountain that would really help him besides Magic Key. He could also just go to Darunia and hope that Fairy spells there. If Fairy spells there, he'll probably come back to the west.
At that point, Palace 1 becomes a lot easier to think about.
And jkoper is immediately going to go for the Darunia play. Probably will come back to Mito afterwards. Taking the forced encounter for Paratroopa. And that just leads back to the River Devil. To answer the question in chat, we know that the medicine is the Thunder spell. So if jkoper gets Jump or Fairy out of here, that will give him the ability to do both the down stab and the spell out of Mito at the same time.
Let's just hope it's not the spell.
It is the Fairy spell.
Okay, so he can grab upstab while he's in here.
I think he will do that. I think he'll grab upstab, and that's what it looks like he's doing. He'll probably, after this, go ahead and get downstab and the spell out of Mito, and then from there, probably go dig Palace 1, actually.
Upstab, that stab you might use once per game.
It could be required.
It can be. Even so, you'll only use it like once or twice.
It's great on the Thunderbird fight. Paratroopa is opting not to get upstab. Either that or he's just going to loop around to the front of town to get it. No, he's just leaving. jkoper opting not to go back to Mito at this point.
Neither is Paratroopa.
Interesting choice from both runners.
Yeah, I wonder what they're looking for.
And they could be looking for information about if there is a flute-blocked palace. They could be looking for the magic key before they go dig dungeons, just so that they don't have to keep casting Fairy, because Fairy is a full magic bar for Paratroopa, but he is going back to the west now.
I mean, downstab makes life so much easier.
jkoper could also be looking for Nukasudo to try to get his reflect spell. Because if jkoper can get all of his spells, he can knock the entire west out in one fell swoop. You could be also looking for the other of 3-6, as that will be somewhere on this east. And that may yield him a trophy, which would allow him to get everything out of the west at once. The problem that he may run into is if he finds 3, killing Rebo without downstab is kind of painful. But if he finds 3, then he knows that 6 is on the west. Paratroopa going to get his downstab. The single best item in this game.
Absolutely.
jkoper is going to get a fairy. I expect Paratroopa is going to go ahead and start digging palaces here.
It's like all these battles have been agonizing to watch because without downstab, it's so hard to jump over a lot of enemies when you could just bounce off them with downstab.
Looks like jkoper is looking through some caves, probably dipping into the caves to reset encounter timers. Surprised he hasn't gone for the Valley of Death Palace yet, to see if that's 4. Yes, it's a bit of an arduous climb to get in there and back out, but Paratroopa is opting not to do the palace with the 3-6 entrance. Probably going to go to Palace 1 instead.
By the way, how do you know this is P1 rather than P5?
The way we know it's P1 versus P5 is the combination of the lack of a jar and the pillar design.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I just associate both of them with lack of a jar, but I never knew the pillar design was different.
Yes. Palaces 1 and 4 share a pillar design. Palaces 2 and 5 share one, and then Palaces 3 and 6 share one. Paratroopa has to get some magic, though, because he does not have enough to cast Fairy.
Oh, those red iron knuckles are nice. 200 points off them.
Not something that either runner is going to disagree with.
Paratroopa, did you forget you now have downstab and can just bounce off the iron knuckle?
I think he was taking a death warp to get magic so that he can go through this door.
Oh, fairy through the... That makes sense.
Because remember, he can only cast Fairy... Well, both of them can only cast Fairy once per life, but jkoper has a little bit more wiggle room, and 3 dead-end pass-through caves on the east. jkoper is now back on the west. Hopefully, he will go to Mito at this point. Paratroopa fighting a blue iron knuckle takes a death to it. He is now on his last life. He has got to be careful. And jkoper is now going to go to Mito. And Palace 1 has the magic key. I don't know if Paratroopa knows that or not. jkoper knows that, so he's probably going to go straight to P1. He did not cast Fairy to go get the downstab. He's probably going to get it on his way out.
Yep, I forgot I got
Yeah, we're on Horsehead already, so he'll have to go back in for it.
Yeah, he might go back in before taking the gem here so that he can get attack 4, but he may also take the attack 4 now and just go get the item with... Oh, wait, no, he can't get attack 4. This is going to give him, I think, life 5. Jkoper's going to get down stab and probably go straight to P1. Nope, magic 4. And Para's leaving P1. That could be a major difference maker between the two runners if Jkoper digs that magic key out of P1.
Yeah, Paratroopa did not bother talking to anyone in Mido.
Jkoper also has the slight attack level advantage at this point. Checking Death Mountain on Para's side, we might find something useful here. He's probably hoping for magic key or more magic containers. Interestingly, we have not seen New Casino yet on the east, and it's probably just hiding in the middle of BFE nowhere. Hammer Cave, though. Very quick Hammer Cave. Jkoper is now in Palace 1. I expect he will dig the item out of here.
I would think so, given how few keys we've seen so far this seed.
Combined with knowing that fairy is so expensive, you really don't want to be spending all of your magic to cast that every door and then have to take a death abuse. Jkoper is going to use his Thunder Spell.
And the blue iron knuckle was so strong that it wasn't even destroyed by it.
It's not too terribly surprising, though. Blue iron knuckles do tend to be on the stronger side. Jkoper did have a key coming in here, so he was able to get through this door without having to ferry. He will likely have to ferry for the next door, though. As Hammer Cave holds a heart container.
Oh, we're sure building up our health here, though we still haven't seen any magic jars. Oh, no, we saw the one that Koper got.
Correct. I think if Koper sees that this is the boss, he may opt to actually just skip the level up here and come back after he has gotten the item so that he can get attack 5, so that he can get the attack 5 level up. Although I forget if Horsehead dropped 100. If Horsehead dropped 100, that helps him.
That P-bag also helps him.
And this room also is very convenient. I think he's going to take a lava bath here. He's either going to take a lava bath. I don't see him... I don't see him grinding up to the other. Paratroopa is staying on Death Mountain. Probably going to try to find her way to that rock. Koper opts to go through the door. We'll find Horsehead. I'm curious to see if he takes a level here or not. He could. If he's not going to do the take all of your attack levels and then dump a bunch into magic after a gem. Oh, but Horsehead only giving 20. He's going to go back.
Yeah, with the randomizer, you can... And any enemy's experience can go up by 2 levels or down by 2 levels, and 20 is 2 levels below the vanilla 50.
Looks like Koper's going to be killing some enemies in this room, but man, just no XP whatsoever for him. Crosses the magic level threshold, is going to take the magic level. I expect he will now take the gem and then come back for the magic key. And the boulder contains a magic jar for Paratroopa.
Which makes that fairy spell hurt a little bit less.
It will be interesting to see if Jkoper does actually decide to come back for this magic key, or if he says, you know what, I'm just going to skip it and rely on fairy to get me through doors. Looks like the answer to that is no. I don't think this is the wrong decision at all. In fact, I like this decision because you still have Palace 6 to do, which is not only key door heavy, it's also fairy block heavy.
So speaking of fairy, I'm kind of surprised when he saw that Magic 5 was only 10 points higher than Life 5 that he didn't that he took the life level and didn't get Magic 5 instead.
Well, if you look at his current XP, he's at 500 right now. His argument was probably, let me get the life 5 for coming through the palace to make it a little bit smoother with the blue iron knuckles, and then I'll get Magic 5 while in the palace because things seem to be dropping a good amount of XP.
At least the red iron knuckles are.
Right. And there's been a couple of them so far. The orange are not bad either at 100. So it's not unreasonable that he could get a level out of this palace right now.
Nice jackhammer on that blue. Nice jackhammer on that blue one helped.
Absolutely. He is going to have to take a death here, but, well, not necessarily. If he can get the XP for a magic level off of this Mago, which he should, as the Magos, I believe, can go down as low as 100.
Yeah, because Vanilla's 200, so 2 levels down is 100.
This will give him a magic level. That will give him Magic 5. That will allow him to cast Fairy. That will get him his Magic Key. I think, actually, taking the time to kill this Mago is the correct play here versus the Death Warp. Or the Death Abuse to get magic back.
And on the flip side of things, if he's really lucky, this Mago could give him 500. As
Oh,
I say
look
that.
at that. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter that much in this particular instance. And Fairy is now 29.
Yeah, that magic level sure helped.
I think that actually puts jkoper in a bit of a lead now, as he's probably going to go right back to this palace. Because regardless if this is 3 or 6, he can now comfortably take this palace on.
And it'll be a while before Paratroopa gets magic level 5.
And it is Palace 6 based on that elevator. So the magic level combined with the magic key for jkoper really going to pay off here. Although this room is not necessarily free, easy, and fun to do. Thunder is still pretty expensive, but when you get a lot of XP out of it, it's kind of worth it. And Rebo 2. Paratroopa is back on the east, probably looking for New Kasuto at this point, as that's not only his as not only does it contain a spell, it contains an item or two, depending on what spell's there.
Well, let's see how jkoper does against Rebo 2 with full health here.
Rebo 2 has a very consistent strategy if you can get him along this left wall. You just have to watch out for if Rebo decides to off-screen before you kill him. Because if you off-screen Rebo as he dies, you actually will soft lock. Kind of like that. If Rebo died right there. So jkoper has to be kind of careful here. Yeah, that's probably the better way to do it, is get Rebo into the center, get on this side of him, and then take him out.
There we go.
Also note that Thunder does not work on any boss besides Thunderbird, and it only makes Thunderbird vulnerable. It doesn't actually deal damage to him.
And unfortunately, Rebo was going at 2 levels down in the experience chart today, so he only gave 150.
Look, he didn't want to make the other blue Iron Knuckles feel bad, so he said, I'm just going to go with the same amount of XP that the other Iron Knuckles give. This is kind of a tricky jump to make, especially when you have the Moa there. And the blue Iron Knuckle complicating things. I think it would be good to cast life here, or just take the death.
Did I have full health? I think I had full health, and I was just stupid.
And he's on his last life now.
Yep. I can understand wanting to save some magic because Fairy is relatively commonly needed in Palace 6. This is going to be... I believe this is not Canadian Hold. It is not. It is just a pass-through room with an elevator.
So how come the red Iron Knuckles here are only 70 points, while the red Iron Knuckle in Palace 1 was 200 points?
I believe they are 2 different pools of Iron Knuckles. So there's like 2 separate pools of Palace enemies, one that's supposed to be the east and one that's supposed to be the west. And sometimes they get finagled. We find a new area of Eastern Hyrule on Paratroopa's side from taking a pass-through cave that led to the water. It gets the water tile and the flute-blocked palace. And jkoper's in a loop.
Is this?
Water tile contains a magic jar. That is all but one magic jar found.
So we know we can get the item in New Kasuto, which we just found.
This could be big for Paratroopa, but jkoper will likely do the entire West before
Yeah. That's.
going over to the East. And jkoper, I believe, now realizes he's looping. And just gets a P bag for his efforts in New Kasuto. It's a little bit tough to tell who has a definitive lead here because Koper has the lead in terms of palace exploration, but Paratroopa has found the elusive New Kasuto and water tile at this point. And this, I believe, is going to be the Canadian hole, so don't fall down here or else you will go to Canada. jkoper's going to try for it, I think, jumpless. Does not get it. Just going to fall to Canada.
That was the look on his face there.
As we find Reflect in New Kasuto. Well, okay then.
If we ever find Palace 4, that'll be useful.
Well, we do have the 3-Eye Rock Palace conveniently located next door to New Kasuto, so that could be a big help. For Koper's sake, he probably actually wants the Palace 4 to be on the east over here with Paratroopa, because then he can do all the West in one fell swoop and he doesn't have to ever come back. Plus, he has the keys. This is fake Rebo room.
And Paratroopa, if he takes the magic level before he takes the life level, he will be pretty well situated because then Fairy goes way down in cost. He's up to 7 magic bars, and it'll be less of an issue that he doesn't have that magic key.
jkoper is now fighting Barba. We'll see if he comes back for the trophy. A decent argument could be made not to because of Canadian Hole and also because he still hasn't found New Kasuto yet.
Paratroopa has the same problem that happened to Koper of not quite making that jump, but he is able to get out of it because he does not have a fire-breathing Moa that keeps hitting him back.
Now, Koper could also decide to just go back to that elevator room, and maybe the items on the other end of that. Koper will get his life level, but just barely, as Barba really skimping on the XP. But here's another potential issue that Paratroopa is going to have. He may opt to go into some of these needless rooms to go look for keys. And again, if the Palace 4 is on the west, that is advantage to Paratroopa. If Palace 4 is on the east in Death Valley, that is a slight advantage to jkoper.
And Paratroopa is forced to take a death here because he's still got that expensive fairy spell. He really needs that magic level 5.
Absolutely. And jkoper needs to find the way to the third palace on this continent. If he hasn't already found it, he might have. A lot of iron knuckles in this room to contend with.
Yeah, but if he can just get these 2 down, he will get that magic 5 if he wants it.
Only gets 1, though.
Oh, and I don't think he got the experience from it. I think he left the room too soon.
Well, that's kind of a rip. But he does get a key, so that helps him some.
2 keys.
2 keys is good. And Palace 4 is on the west. Now, the question for jkoper is, does he go back for that trophy out of Palace 6, or does he go east looking for New Kasuto?
Oh my, Paratroopa is gonna grind out that level.
We have a slight advantage for Paratroopa, and Koper is going to go look for the trophy. We know that this can only give him jump or spell at this point. neither of which are going to be useful for him. For his sake, the best place for the trophy to be is actually going to be right on the other side of this bridge, or this elevator room that he was at and couldn't get past because of the MOA Iron Knuckle combo before. If the trophy is not there, he could be in this Palace 6 for a long time looking for that.
Oh, no.
But Paratroopa takes the life level instead of the magic level.
We'll have to ask him about that.
Oh, man. Now he's got to go through this without the fairy. And if he was going to Death Warp to get magic back for fairy, that really does hurt him. And he doesn't have upstab. So now he's trying to get through those blocks without upstab instead of just going around the other way. Okay, I think he's going to reset the room. Does he? I assume he has downstab. He can go just down through the blocks over there. He doesn't have to upstab this. Yeah, look at that. He's trying to get through these blocks using just some jumps.
I still don't get why he didn't take upstab right after he got fairy like Koper did.
Like all that, and now he's gone back to start. This is just giving Koper time to either make this Canadian hole jump, which he does make without the jump spell. That is huge, and is immediately rewarded with the item rebo. That, while this is not going to help jkoper, it's absolutely minimizing the amount of time that he's going to spend in this P6 getting this trophy. And once he realizes it's New Casino, he's going to have to go back to the east, find that way to the north that Paratroopa found. But once he gets that reflect spell, he is in go mode. He can just take crystals and leave in every palace here. And again, I don't necessarily blame jkoper for saying, let's go get the trophy, because, again, Rudo's right here. And for all he knows, this is Reflect. So it totally makes sense to do, especially without knowing where New Casino is. Item in P3 for Paratroopa. It's just going to be the last heart container. That is probably not what he wanted to see. He is leaving Palace 3 now. And it's just spell in Rudo, which means that jump is likely going to be here in Nabaru. In fact, it has to be. But Paratroopa leaving Palace 3, I don't think he remembered that you can downstab through that the far left side of that room to get out of there. He might be thinking he's upstab blocked in Palace 3. So yeah, a lot has just happened.
I mean, it'll cost him a couple of minutes, but if he really thinks that, he can just hop over to Darunia and get that upstab that he could have gotten his last time there.
Well, there is the Palace 2 over there, so he could say, you know what, I'm just going to go do Palace 2 while I'm in the area. I got to go back that way anyway.
And then, of course, the other question is, when's he finally going to get that magic level 5?
At this point, probably off of a jam.
Yeah, which means he needs to beat a whole palace before he can get a cheap fairy spell.
2 is probably the most likely place he goes to do that, because 2 is nice and quick. Koper needs to find his way over to that northeast corner of East Hyrule ASAP, which I believe you can just walk there from the Maze Island entrance if you go along the coast. You cannot. You have to take a pass-through cave. I don't know where the other end of that pass-through is, though. Paratroopa will show us in a second here.
So I've already totally forgotten where in East Hyrule we saw that water tile in New Casino.
Up in the north corner where Paratroopa is leaving now. jkoper's going to go off to do the Valley of Death here. Honestly, not a bad choice, because he has to do it anyway. It has Palace 5. There's really no reason for him to put this off while he's here. He has cheap fairy, so we can fairy feed it. He doesn't have to worry about the encounter skips. And it looks like it's that cave just south of Valley of Death, so hopefully Koper will go there immediately after 5. But yeah, I think this is a good play from Koper to go ahead and knock this out now.
Yeah, and he's up at 655 and has a magic key so he can conserve his magic.
Plus, he has to do it anyway. Why not do it now before you continue your exploration of the East and get another level at least, if not two? See Paratroopa walking all the way back to Darunia instead of just taking the up A. Koper will absolutely not search for the item here in P5. He will get his gem and he will leave. Oh, that is not level 2. That is Grand Palace. P2 was on Maze Island. My apologies, folks. I got those two mixed up. Yeah. Paratroopa's here getting upstabbed for Palace 3. That... Oh, and he did not crouch before casting Fairy, so he can't go in.
So he has to... Well, fortunately, the magic refill woman is right there.
Yep. But that's just... These little things are slowly going to add up. Oh, but he does have jump.
He's doing it the way the game intended you to do it.
And a quick Guma in P5 for jkoper. That's very helpful. On answer the question in chat... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just remarking. Very high HP Guma. He has landed how many hits and finally gets him down below 8. Must have started with like 12.
To answer the question that is being asked in chat, yes, this is a 2-2 matchup. So here, the stakes are win or go home. Or I guess just everybody's home at this point. Win or, I don't know.
Wow, that is an experience-rich Guma, but it doesn't matter because he's going to place the gem.
And he's probably just going to leave Palace 5. There's no reason for him to stick around. Magic containers and heart containers are not worth that much at this point. And realistically, it's either going to be a magic container or some kind of garbage item like a pea bag. Koper probably was hoping to cast Fairy before taking that magic level. Because they need to get a free magic refill out of it, but gets the Fairy Feet. We'll see if he gets the second one here. He does, and hopefully he takes this pass-through cave down here. I don't think he's taken this one yet, and he's taken most of the others. So this could put jkoper in a very strong position, but he's not taking it.
Oof, so that reflect is gonna have to continue waiting.
I guess there is another cave that he did not see yet, or a forest tile that he didn't see that he wanted to check. One of the two. I don't know. He might not... Oh, he might not have checked these forest tiles because he might not have had Hammer when he was over here initially. So he might be saying, okay, you know what? Maybe it's one of these forest tiles before I go take that cave. He's still not heading to the cave. Well, no, he's not heading to the cave. The longer jkoper takes to go into that cave, the more time it's going to give Paratroopa to just keep building a lead. Paratroopa still has to go into P5, but he can do that on his way back from P3 at this point. I'm not quite sure why jkoper's not walking up to see if he can walk up there. Now he knows he's blocked. So that's probably going to put that pass-through cave in the back of his mind, but he will go ahead and do P2, seeing he's over by Maze Island anyway.
Not a bad call. Should be pretty short.
Yeah, that is a lot of things that are happening here. So it's kind of tough to say who has a lead at this point. Koper has the gem lead by far, but Para does have the knowledge lead and does have the spell lead. He's technically in go mode as far as items are concerned. So it's a question of, does a gem lead mean more than having a lead than having the knowledge and spell lead at this point? One could argue this is a dead heat as far as the matchup goes, and that would be a very reasonable argument to make. It's really a question of when does jkoper make his way over to that pass-through cave. And to answer the question in chat, all sprites are functionally the same. Koper finds a quick helmet head in Palace 2, so he's going to be up 4 gems to 1. If he goes back and goes straight to that pass-through cave, this could very much be over for Paratroopa, as that is quite the deficit to make up. Koper also knows exactly how to get to Palace 4, how to get the GP. If Koper goes straight to that pass-through cave, that's definitely a big factor. But Para's about to close that gap on gems a little bit by killing this Rebo. And not having any key is definitely a factor that is going to come into play for Paratroopa. Also, jkoper's leveling is a little bit stronger. He will definitely have attack 6 for Thunderbird. I don't think he'll be able to get up to that attack 7, but attack 6 generally is a pretty comfortable level going into Thunderbird, especially if you have upstab.
And there goes that Rebo down, and Paratroopa is back to being 2 crystals behind Koper.
But Koper is not going back for the pass-through cave. He is going to jump in there, see what that is. See that it's nothing.
Maybe now he's heading over there?
Maybe. But I want to say the pass-through cave was a little bit further south over by the Valley of Death area. Magic 5 for Paratroopa. Looks like Koper's starting to head back now. Paratroopa's heading back as well. Probably going to go to Valley of Death when he gets out of this pass-through cave and go do his Palace 5. Koper takes to death. Nope. He is going to come back up this way and just see that this leads to the River Devil, which leads back to start.
Yeah, I guess Paratroopa was the only one who went that way before, so...
This is... Koper needs to make his way over to that pass-through cave. The longer it takes him to get back is more time for Para to catch up. And Para's already got Reflect, already got P3 done. When he finishes P5 and P2, it'll be even on crystals, but Para will, at that point, have the advantage because he'll be able to just get his gems out of 6 and 4, and then he can come back and go straight into GP.
I guess Koper wants to check every single forest tile before he tries that cave.
I don't know what the aim is going to be. Oh. I'm missing 2 jumps.
Well, at this point, he might be thinking he's seen all the pass-through caves already.
Oh, so you think he miscounted?
That could be.
I'm really confused.
He could also have just not been able to check these tiles because he didn't have the hammer at the time.
Ooh, and Para does not want to risk the fairy feet here, so he's taking the long way through those bike tiles.
It's not the worst idea in the world in terms of if you're just not comfortable with the fairy feet, just go ahead and face tank them. As long as you have enough health, you should be fine. Koper is now going back through this pass-through cave. I believe this one was a dead end. It is. But now he knows there's a pass-through cave that leads over there.
And let's see how quickly Paratroopa can find his way to Goomba. Goomba, sorry.
I mean, it could be a large Goomba. We don't know what Goomba's backstory is. Koper looks like he might go back and check this pass-through cave before he goes back to the one near Valley of Death. No, maybe he's going to check this one. No? I'm remembering that those two were nothing.
I assume Paratroopa's going to come back for that key. Yep.
He's really got no reason not to at this point. Even with the cheap fairy, it's still an extra key. And is jkoper going to do it? Maybe. He's walking straight towards it.
Let's hope. He's really running out of options.
He
There
is
we
going to go
go.
through here. Definitely being very thorough in his exploration, though.
Not having that cross is definitely giving him a bit of a headache here.
And Para did get quite the amount of time to do some catch-up here. We'll see if it's going to be enough. It could at least be enough to have GP be more of a determining factor. As Paratroopa now has found his Guma. It's going to put the crystal lead for jkoper down to, I believe, just 1?
Yep. Now, how long is this Guma fight going to take? Because we know Guma is loaded with HP, and Para's only got level 4 attack.
7 magic containers required to get the P bag out of New Casino. jkoper will not be coming back for that, as once he gets his reflect spell here, he's probably just going to leave. I don't even think he's going to check the back of town with that spell. A little bit of trouble for Paratroopa on this Guma fight. jkoper now has reflect.
Okay, he had 1 life spell left in him.
I don't know if I'm gonna win this race.
Gotta get about 5 or 6 more hits in, though.
Both runners are now in Crystal and Go at this point. jkoper probably just going to take the up A as soon as he gets to Palace 3, so makes sense not to refill stuff. Not even going to check the water tile or the other town of Nabru to get his whatever was there. I think it was jump. Just going to go straight into Palace 3. It is now a 1 gem lead for jkoper. Well, no, I miscounted bosses. It is a 0 gem lead for jkoper. But he now has Palace 3. He knows exactly where Palace 4 is. What does Paris still have to do on the east? Maze Island. And Palace 2, mainly.
And yeah, jkoper's just going to plow through Palace 3 at this point.
jkoper's still in a strong position. I do believe the time difference has made it enough where GP will be more of a factor than it was before. But, again, this all comes down to perhaps they take in GP, and it could very well come down to P4 being kind of trolly. If one runner ends up going through a bunch of loops and the other one just finds their way to Karok immediately.
Well, and Paratroopa still has to go through P6.
Yes, he does. That's not necessarily a short palace.
Right. You were talking about loops. We saw jkoper get caught in loops in P6 a couple of times.
And as Chess pointing out, jkoper has a magic key, which would really be helpful in P6, because P6 does not contain any key drops normally, and it is loaded with locked doors. jkoper going to get the down stab set up on Rebo here. Rebo cooperates well enough. jkoper is going to get his, I believe this is attack 6 coming up.
Most likely.
jkoper is going to opt to get the item here and probably will up A afterward.
Okay, so that magic jar will be nice.
Yeah. Probably the best case scenario for him as far as items go at this point.
Yeah, with 6 magic bars and 6 life bars, he's probably good to go for the rest of the game.
Plus, there's a decent chance he'll have either Magic 7 or Life 8 going in the GP, both of which are very helpful. Yeah, all jkoper's got to do is kill Karok. up A and go to GP, which is conveniently right next to start on the East. I thought this race was a lot closer than it was because I forgot that Para still had to do P6.
Yeah, that's going to be a biggie.
Again, not to say Para is completely out of it, but it is definitely in jkoper's ball court.
And Para just up 8 out of P2 to avoid having to ferry back through some doors. So he's now back to start.
Well, it might also have been faster to get back, depending on where he got dead-ended. To answer the question of why they call it Rebodack, I don't know. That looks like an item room in P4, relatively quick. Not really what Cooper wants to see here. I mean, it is the boss's name, but why the boss is named Rebodack?
That gray Doom Knocker was kind of interesting in that last room.
Yes, the rooms with the giant blocks, because one of them has the following glove blocks in it, that uses the blue palette for all of the enemy sprites. So if there's any blue enemies in those rooms, they will show up as gray. That's why if you ever go through those rooms in vanilla, you'll notice there is never a blue enemy in those rooms.
Huh. So would be interesting to see a gray Iron Knuckle then, which I guess is entirely possible.
Definitely is. Gray Iron Knuckles are possible, gray ropes, gray Stalfos.
So now Paratroopa is back to being 1 crystal behind in the count.
But that 1 crystal is kind of a long crystal to go get.
Yeah. And jkoper could also stumble across Karok at any moment.
Yep. And he's seen quite a few rooms of this P4, so it's likely going to be relatively quick for Cooper to find Karok. Looks like Paratroopa is going a little bit of a different way here. Has he not seen the way to get to B4?
I'm not sure if he has.
Out to sea. And there's a Death Mountain entrance. I don't know if he's seen the path to Palace 4 here. He might be looking for the way there. You know, yeah, I feel like... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Nah, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna address chat that, like, the regarding the knack suffix. Yeah, Iron Knuckle was originally Iron Knack.
Although I must admit, if your job title is Iron Knuckle, I expect you to fight unarmed.
Yeah, they're really more like Iron Everything, aren't they?
It looks like Paratroopa has not found 4 yet. As jkoper kills Karok, he will be heading over to the Grand Palace at this point.
Which is right by where the raft lets off, conveniently enough. So it's very much Cooper's to lose at this point.
Yeah. Looks like Cooper will get his final levels of 6, 7, 7. Which is definitely a comfortable level setup going into GP.
Hopefully Thunderbird doesn't have too much HP.
Come on, we all know Thunderbird's going to be max.
I suppose he always is, because that's how the rando gods are.
Yep. I suppose the Dark Link, who has a set amount of HP no matter what you do.
Meanwhile, Paratroopa has finally found P4.
With that, Paratroopa will begin his search for Karok.
Oh yeah, there we go. The gray armored Stalfos too.
Finds the item room. He's going to look and see if it's the magic key before he goes to P6. And it is a red jar.
Oof.
Man. So you're going to be seeing jkoper go to the right a lot here in this GP. The reason you want to do that is you can only enter Thunderbird's room from the left. So by going right, you have a higher chance of finding Thunderbird's room than by going right. Or by going left. For those of you that are like me and get directions mixed up all the time, it's a fantastic palace to be in.
Well, and in the vanilla GP, there's a lot more going to the right than going to the left.
jkoper is going to opt to take Eon Drop immediately. Finds one end of the loop around room, as I call it. I believe it's also called the L7.
So he can drop down here.
To answer the question in chat, yes, the magic key was in level 1, as Velvetex has so graciously pointed out. Spicy chicken. And Thunderbird found.
And he doesn't have quite enough magic, so I think he's going to take a death here.
There is one scary thing about an early Thunderbird.
What's that?
It's possible to loop back to before Thunderbird from post Thunderbird, I believe.
Does Thunderbird respawn? I wouldn't think so.
No. It just is a matter of making sure you keep your path through the palace correct. And jkoper opting to go with Shield instead of Reflect, going for the Pendulum. The Pendulum is the strategy used by 99.9% of runners to kill Thunderbird, as it's very safe, very quick.
Well, the shield's paying off because he got hit a couple of times over there on the right.
Oh, and he does have enough magic to cast Reflect. I thought he didn't have enough. There is one other strat that can be used called the Center Strats, aka the Wibble Wobble. I know of 2 people that use it.
And down goes Thunderbird.
To answer the question in chat, the standard tournament means that this is a standard format tournament, so it has all 6 gems required, spell items are required. Dark Link immediately after Thunderbird. This is going to be GG for jkoper.
And you also know you're going to start with 4 bars of life and 4 bars of magic.
Correct. There is a variant tournament that I believe usually happens in the spring. That is the Max Rando tournament. There, everything is randomized. You could start with all items, 8 heart containers, and just have to go to GP. You could also start with no items, 1 heart container, and your max heart containers is 2.
And meanwhile, get your GGs in chat for jkoper, who is advancing to brackets. And that looks like a forfeit on Paratroopa's part.
Yeah. I can't necessarily say I blame him with how much of the seed is left.
Yeah, especially P6.
And especially given there may or may not, like, there's a very decent chance that with seeing all of that you have seen, a tilt factor is very possible if you just felt like you've been blocked at every turn. And I know that's because I'm susceptible to that myself, but GG's to jkoper. He will be moving on to 3-2. He will be in the brackets of the tournament this time around. Sounds like we will be getting Para in here for an interview, so we'll see. But we are first joined by jkoper, GG's, and congratulations on the win and moving on to brackets.
Hey, thanks. We can wait for Paratroopa before we get into too much here. But yeah, that overworld messed with me a little bit.
Well, I guess the thing we most noticed was that you last locationed that connector cave to New Kasuto.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly it. Couldn't figure out how to get to the last part of the continent. But there was so much stuff I was missing. It was really weird because it didn't feel like there was that much area left on the eastern continent, but I was still missing the water tile and 2 towns and a palace, and it's like, oh, wow, how can all of this be in this little area that I haven't found yet? And I mean, it was all there.
Yeah, you never even did hit Nibiru to get jump.
Yeah. Let's pull in Paratroopa.
And we welcome to the booth Paratroopa. GG's on the race, sir. And bit unfortunate that it didn't work out for you, but you still put on a good showing.
Yeah, I made a lot of risks and dives that didn't pay off, and forgot that I didn't need upstab in Palace 3 because there's still a way to go. So I left and did that for like 5 minutes. I don't think that would have mattered though. I was well over 5 minutes behind. Yeah.
I think the biggest difference between the two of you is you did find New Kasuto and Palace 3 before jkoper did.
I did.
But you still have Palace 62 at that point, and jkoper also got a hint for it and got the magic key out of Palace 1.
That's
there.
Yeah, that would have been the end of the game, right? That's the moment that happened. Where was the hint?
Mito.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't check the hints there. I thought about reading one, but I decided not to, and I knew that if the magic was in there, that would be the end of the game, and it was. So that's how it goes. That's rando. Not really much else to say.
And then the other thing was you decided to take Life 5 before Magic 5, and as you probably noticed at Magic 5, the cost of Fairy went down by more than a half.
Yeah, that would have helped. It didn't matter that much, though. I wasn't going to catch up if Magic Key was in 1. That was the decider in that race.
Yeah, I had a lot of trouble just finding that last connector. I think I found every connector twice before I went through that one. Yeah,
I found Palace 3 pretty easily. So I actually thought that I did find Palace 3 first. I was right, apparently, but it didn't give me an advantage. It was just Palace 3, that's it.
Yeah.
And Reflect. Reflect, yeah. I couldn't find Palace 4 for a while, actually, so that took me a bit.
Same here. I went east before I ever found Palace 4, and then when I came back to the west to do 1 and 6 and look around, maybe get some spells and downstab, then I looked for the last palace and found 4 there.
Yeah, it was just one of those situations where sometimes you do a perimeter check around an area and it's just like in the center in a swamp and you don't see it, and that was what happened to me.
Yep, same thing.
Yeah, so I ended up kind of looking. I thought maybe it's through Fairy Cave, which I hadn't done, but it wasn't, obviously. There was no other section of the world that I missed.
No, I actually went through, the very first thing I did was go through Propa Cave, and then I went through Fairy Cave immediately after that.
Oh, I didn't do that. I went through Propa Cave immediately before I even went, to get boots.
I wasn't sure if going through... I wasn't sure if going through Paratroopa Cave took me to the same area as the starting area. It looked like vaguely familiar, like it might have been further north in the area where we started. So I went through Fairy Cave to just see if it took me somewhere different, but Fairy Cave only went like half a screen west of where the Fairy Cave entrance was, so it was nothing.
You can see Great Palace from Palace 1, I think. So when I saw that, I realized that it was probably a different section of the world. Although, I guess I did realize because it couldn't have possibly connected unless through water. And I didn't realize the boots were like right over there. But I don't know if it would have made a much of a difference going the other way. Like there was stuff, there was a lot of towns in the western half, or western southern. I'm not sure. I would have probably stuck around to find those anyway before going east, so it doesn't really matter too much.
Yeah, getting things like Fairy or maybe Reflect and Downstab, those types of things are helpful before going east.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not meant to be in this seed.
No, there was really nothing. I mean, there was Thunder, he knew that, obviously, but nothing that really was necessary for exploring the east. Also, no experience like whatsoever to speak of in this seed, which was a pain in the ass.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, you can go ahead. I've been talking long enough.
Yeah, we noticed early on that the P bags were like 50 and 30, and like, well, the runners are probably just going to take levels as they go because saving up a lot of XP for the attack levels might be a little bit riskier given that they don't have the option to just try to get a P bag for 200, 300, 500, however much.
Yeah, I prefer to emphasize attack, but my leveling worked out pretty decent in the end. Got an extra level or two in just from farming some enemies from time to time, so that helped out a lot. And yeah, GP was really easy, by the way, Paratroopa. So
okay. Yeah, I didn't feel like going through 6 as well as GP. I probably would have stuck through it, but I was like, I don't have a magic key.
Yeah,
I was just like, nah, I don't want to do it.
6 was like medium difficulty, I would say. Like,
okay,
not terrible, but I think you could get there just by taking rights, but you had to take the right. Oh, there was a weird loop in 6. I'd never seen a loop like that before. It was crazy.
Yeah, you went around that a couple times.
In 6 before.
It was so there was an elevator that went down, and then when I went to the right, I could see an elevator going down again. And then when I went to the right again, then there was an elevator going up, and that was the elevator that I had come down on originally. But I didn't realize it, of course, because I'd never seen a loop like that in 6 before. I think I've only ever seen drops loop.
I think I've seen that before in 6.
Okay.
I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I remember I've had a loop that happened in 6 that didn't involve drops, which was very strange.
Yeah.
I normally only see that in GP.
Right. Yeah, you'd think that maybe it would happen a little more often if it's possible in 6, but it doesn't seem to. So.
Yeah, I don't
know. Of course, there might be some times where it's there and we just don't even see it.
Awesome.
Yeah, that could easily be. To me, it always seems that 6 liked to loop more vertically than horizontally, and 4 was the one that liked to loop a little bit more horizontally if it could.
I've never seen 4 loop at all. The only time I've seen 4 loop is the second room of the drop section that loops onto itself, but that's it.
I've seen that. I think I've once seen a horizontal loop where there was 2 elevators that came down and they just looped on each other, but that may have been me misremembering another palace.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd be interested to see it, but either way, if it does happen, it must be very rare because I've never noticed that. So anyway, GG Paratroopa, you're a good player, and I was nervous when I wasn't finding the right way to go.
Yeah, thanks. I kind of figured that there might be a slight chance that tripped you up enough that I'd be able to catch up, but the fact that Magic Key was in 1 was definitely my downfall, because I had to die for Fairy a lot until I got Magic 5 for sure, but even after that.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, if GP was short, then I probably wasn't that far behind, because I just had to finish up 4, then go to 6. I don't know how close I was done to 4, because there was a couple ways to go. But
yeah, 4 was slightly annoyed too. There was one point in 4 where I went up an elevator and saw a left, and I'm like, I'm going to try this other way first. So I went back and went down an elevator and went to the right, and then it was Karak was there. So
okay, I think I went the wrong way then.
Perhaps, I don't know.
Oh yeah, it was closer than it felt probably, but if I'd not wasted, I seriously. So I went to Palace 3, and I went. So you go up and then left, and I went through that one room where I think you need upstab to get through it. I'm not sure if you could do it without. If you can like break through the ceiling.
You don't need upstab in 3. You can just go down and then to the left.
Do you know the room I'm talking about though, where if you come in through the right, normally you need downstab to get through it, but if you want to go the other way, you need upstab. Do you need upstab to get through that room?
No, you just keep going to the left, and then there's blocks to break going down, and then you go to the left from there.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh, don't you need downstab to go through there though, like normally?
Yeah, but you normally, technically, from what the game intends, you're supposed to need downstab in both directions going through it. But you can also get through it without downstab if you just go to the lower level and then jump up and break the blocks, or doing the same thing, going right to left. Just you can jump up and break the blocks.
Oh, you're right. I never noticed that. Wow. I'm looking at the map now and I see that you're right.
Yeah.
So I really, really didn't need downstab or upstab. I mean, I could have just done it normally. Oh well.
I don't think that room was required, though.
No, it wasn't. That was my other mistake. Was that I thought I needed to do that room and I didn't. Absolutely not. I just forgot that I hadn't gone right to where Ravenak was. So I ended up leaving Palace 3 and going all the way back to get upstab, and then coming all the way back to Palace 3, and that wasted probably like 5 minutes. So if I hadn't done that, this would have been fairly close, but I still would have lost though. I was more than 5 minutes behind.
Yeah, it sounds like just a couple minor changes would have made a big difference for you.
Yeah, it happens. That's how it goes.
Yep. All right.
All right. Well, I think we will end it there. Big thank you to jkoper and Paratroopa, who allowed me to restream them and actually put off their race so that we could restream. And I think that's awesome. So big thank yous to them. Also, thank you to Drossi and Alsoa for being our wonderful commentators today. Thank you to you, the wonderful chat, who is always here throughout all of our different tournaments here on the Zelda Speedruns community. And I think we're going to go ahead and throw a raid over to Dig Shake, who is doing some even more crazy stuff and breaking the game even more just for your entertainment. So as always, thank you for hanging out with us, and we will see you very soon here on Zelda Speedruns. Have a good night.